Supervisors Corporation.
A lot of you guys asking us to do the review of the most popular Russian fighter, and it is of course Khabib Nurmagomedov. We did a review of his career in our video today. So let's look at the video before the fight against Tony Ferguson. Video made by MMA Professional Translations. First fight MMA, Nurmagomedov participated in 2008, Poltava, Ukraine. Khabib easily took down the opponent and did the triangle. His opponent didn't want to give up and tried to escape, but he went unconscious and referee had to stop the fight. Khabib finished his opponent in 2 minutes and got his first MMA point. After a month in tournament in Moscow, Russia, Khabib did 3 fights in a row against Magomed Magomedov, Ramazan Kurbani, Ismailov, Shamil Abdulkarimov. In every fight, Khabib used his strong side, grappling. He won all 3 fights and became champion of that tournament. After 10 months in Samara tournament, he won 2 more fights. In fight against Said Akhmedov, Khabib quickly took down the opponent and full mounting the opponent finished him. It took him only 2 minutes. Eldar was also knocked out at the next fight in a 2-round fight. November 3rd, 2009 in St. Petersburg, Nurmagomedov does a higher level fight. In another tournament called M1 Challenge, he faced up another prospective fighter from Dagestan, Shahbulat Shamkhallayev. This fight was in another fight between grappler and striker. Shahbulat had a Thai box base and was world champion in it. As I have to mention, Nur Khabib and Shahbulat had no losses in MMA. Shahbulat's task was to knock out Khabib Nurmagomedov, but every attack of him was stopped by Khabib with clinch. Shahbulat at the beginning resisted a bit and didn't let Khabib take him down, but after a minute he finally took him down. First attempt to armbar him wasn't successful, but he tried in another one, hitting him with his hand parallelly. It helped him a lot and did an armbar. Shamkhallayev tapped and it became his 7th win in an MMA. June 10, 2009, he faced up Ali Bagov, the Russian fighter who was strong sides were also grappling. He took Khabib down, but wasn't a dominating position for a long time. Grappling of Nurmagomedov was a better level and he did swap, and that helped he full mounted him. At that tournament there was a hit kicks allowed too, and Khabib was using it. Bagov tried to take Khabib down a few times, but he defended really good and he himself was at better position. Eagle was better at that night, and after 2 rounds all judges gave him a win. The next fight of Khabib was at M1 Selection Tournament Ukraine 2010, which was held at Kiev. His opponent was Vitaly Ostrovsky from Republic of Belarus. After 30 seconds of fight, Khabib did take a takedown, but Vitaly tried to choke Khabib down. Nurmagomedov didn't let himself choke and during all fight was punishing Ostrovsky with the head kicks. He blocked Ostrovsky's hands down and with 2 series of punches made him tap. After 5 months, he fought again in Kiev against Alexander Algafanov. Alexander was good at standing and kicked with a lot of low kicks. At some point, it became too much predictable for him that he cashed his leg. After a small clinch, fighters were a powder, where Nurmagomedov was better at ground and held him there almost till the end of the round. At second round, Khabib missed some low kicks which were hurting to him, but he did a takedown and continued dominating in parter. After 2 rounds, Agafanov didn't come back to a 3rd round and Khabib Nurmagomedov got his 10th win. As Khabib mentioned later in one of his interviews, this fight was one of the most hard for him because not long ago before this fight, he had a surgery and he had a spoke in his hand. During trainings, he couldn't stand up in sparring and the only things he did was running and kept his shape. In 2 months in Rostov-on-Don in Pro FC tournament, he faced Khalil Akhmedov. Khabib at that fight showed his striking skills. Also, the Eagle worked in regime, cold, ground and pound reaching, set with some good punches. Just before the end of the fight, Khabib does Kimura and makes Khalilov tap. After 2 months, Khabib again fights in Rostov-on-Don and got opponent Ashot Shaginyan. In this fight, he didn't take him down immediately and tried to fight. Multi-striking made Ashot back down and didn't let him rest even a second. It was 2 minutes of beating. The last hit made him knockout and fight was stopped. Then Khabib fights 3 fights in 3 months in Pro FC fight. Interesting thing that he finished all the 3 fights in first round with a triangle submission. 22nd October 2011, Khabib fights a Brazilian fighter in a tournament called Pro FC. The Eagle pleased his fans in this fight, knocking down him with an uppercut. He couldn't finish him right away and Khabib didn't let him recover fully. Jump kicks were really beautiful and effective, and summing other hits, this was a key moment to stop the fight. Referee stopped the fight and the Eagle wins another fight. Having a record of 16 wins and no losses, Khabib signs a contract with UFC. The debut was 20th January 2012 on tournament on UFC on Fox. His opponent was Kamal Shalaruz, 35 years old fighter from Iran. At that time he had only one loss to Jim Miller but won Bart Polayevsky and was tied with Jamie Warner. After 20 seconds of fight, Kamal does some striking and takes down him, but Khabib without problem blocks it. In a stand-up, the Eagle was fighting as a second number. Shalaruz was hitting more often but couldn't reach Khabib. In an answer, Khabib was hitting with left hand which were hurting him. In one of the episodes, Iranian pushed Khabib to the octagon, but Khabib reacted immediately and did a takedown, from which Shalaruz defended, but Khabib hit him with the left hand, which led to knockdown of Shalaruz. Khabib tried to finish the fight immediately, but Shalaruz could withstand. After this episode, Khabib controlled the tempo of the fight, and the other 1.5 minutes of the round was beating Iranian in parter and standing up. At the second round, he could immediately do the takedown and kept all round Kamal on the ground. And at the end hit him with some punches. To the third round, Iranian fighter was worn down and of course Khabib used it. Went to the ground, took the needed position and made him tap by choking. Americans noted his high level of grappling skills immediately. After half a year on UFC 148, he fights a veteran of UFC, Gleison Tibau. Fight with Khabib became 16th fighter in UFC. He could have bragged with wins over Thiago Alves, Rafael dos Anjos and Jeremy Stevens. He's good at wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and after the weigh-in he gained about 22 pounds, and during the fight he weighted like a welterweight, made him a really dangerous opponent. He was a 15th ranked lightweight division fighter and was a favorite in this fight. And Gleison had one of the best defense against takedowns and theoretically had to neutralize the strong sides of Khabib. In a fight, Tibau looked really bigger and stronger. His weight really became a problem. In first round, Khabib tried to go to parter, but he couldn't do that, and that's why Eagle started working actively in stand-up. In stand-up and striking, he was really faster. At the end of 5 minutes, Khabib again tried to take down, but Tibau again was good at defending. At second round, Tibau did a takedown to Khabib, but he couldn't hold him in a parter. The Eagle was keeping striking and did some good combination which lead to dissection of his face. At the end, Khabib again did a combination with a jump kick with his leg. At the third round, muscle mass of Tibau was bad luck for him. He tired and became more slow, but Nurmagomedov kept pushing and pushing and pressing Gleison Tibau. Fight was all rounds and judges gave a win to Nurmagomedov. As Khabib mentioned himself after the fight, opponent was much tougher than he could have predicted. Statistics say that the Eagle tried to take down 11 times but couldn't finish with none of them. 19th January 2013, Khabib fought another Brazilian lightweight fighter, Thiago Tavares, in Brazil, Sao Paulo, on UFC on Fox 7. Tavares at that time fought in UFC 12 times and won 7 out of them, had a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and was one of the best lightweight fighters in Brazil. The fight became much more interesting after the weigh-ins, where Khabib came out with provocational t-shirt. If Sambo was easy, it would be called Jiu-Jitsu. It angered Brazilian public and they wished to Nurmagomedov a loss. They were disappointed when 1 minute of first round, Khabib hit him with first hit with a left hand, and after hit him 10 times with an elbow, there was a silence. It became a third win of a Nurmagomedov in UFC. After the fight, Khabib wanted to fight with Nate Diaz, but he got an opponent as Josh Thompson, and Khabib fought a prospective fighter, Abel Trujillo. 26 May on UFC 160 in Las Vegas. For Trujillo, this was a second fight in UFC, but a lot of people predicted him to become a top fighter. His first fight was good, and commentators said that he is a monster. Weigh-ins were tense. Khabib pushed Abel during their stare-ups because Abel didn't want to shake his hands backstage earlier. Fight became one of the side beating. Although Abel looked bigger and stronger physically, in life it didn't help him. As Khabib said, "I never wanted to fly because I know it's impossible, but I realized the dream of another's. I helped them to fly in octagon." Abel really was flying around in an octagon all 3 rounds, and Khabib made a new record of takedowns. Out of 27, 21 were successful, and it became 4th win in UFC. Next fight, Khabib fought in UFC 165. His opponent was Pat Healy. In his last 10 fights, he lost only 1 time. In his career, he had won such an experienced fighters as Carlos Condit, Paul Dale, and Dan Hardy, and each of them were choked. But for Khabib, his jiu-jitsu wasn't a problem. From the beginning, it became evident his advantage in speed. He was hitting him with his left hand. He was fighting as a first number and sometimes was counter-attacking. Attacks were like a bomb and leaving the line of an attack. Jump knee kick also satisfied his fans. Already in first round there were dissection on the face of Pete. And of course Khabib didn't forget about his strong side, and second round started with ground and pound. And of course it couldn't do without an effective takedowns. The icing on the cake was a throw of Khabib in Matt Hughes' way. Fight was really interesting. Dana White said at the interview that he likes fights of the Khabib. This win elevated Khabib in lightweight division rankings because Healy was 10th ranked fighter at that time. At UFC 169, Khabib had to face previous champion of Strikeforce, Gilbert Melendez, for interim belt, but fight didn't happen. 19th April 2014, Khabib faced up in an octagon 5th ranked lightweight division fighter Rafael Dos Anjos on UFC on Fox 11 in Orlando. Brazilian had 5 win streaks, and his last fight stopped the win streak of Donald Cerrone. Rafael, except good jiu-jitsu skills, also got a better at stand-up fight, takedown, and keep him there become not easy task for Khabib Nurmagomedov, but Khabib did it. He combined strike skills with grappling and takedowns, but Rafael also reached with bad strikes. Second round also went under the dictation of the Eagle. In third round, Brazilian tried to take down, but here also Nurmagomedov luckily counterattacked. All other 3 minutes Rafael was under Khabib and missed shots. It was evident win, and after 3 rounds Khabib had was raised. But then there were traumas. 5th July 2014, Khabib got an injury of his knee, more detailed, the cruciated ligament rupture, and missed 1 year before fight with Tony Ferguson. In 2015, Khabib broke the rib and missed some time too. At that time, Rafael dos Anjos fought 4 fights, and the last one won over Anthony Pettis and became new lightweight division champion. On April 16, 2016, the fight was planned against Tony Ferguson on UFC on Fox 19. But because Ferguson got an injury, he didn't fight, and instead Darrell Horcher was chosen as an opponent, which had to lead the comeback of Khabib Nurmagomedov to an octagon after 2 years of missing. Of course, fans wanted to see the fight with Ferguson. There was an intrigue, and prehistory of the fight was interesting. For Horcher, this fight is a first fight under UFC. His statistic was 13 wins and 1 loss. Half of the first round was a stand-up fight. Fighters were fighting same and we couldn't see anybody's advantage. But then Khabib threw American on his shoulder, slowly walked on octagon and threw him on a mat. Getting the comfortable position for himself, Khabib started hitting with an elbow, but he didn't want to give up and tried to escape out of that position. The Eagle continued showing his own rules, and Horcher last minute was just putting up with the strikes. At the second 5 minutes, Khabib did a takedown. The regime of the strong ground and pound was activated, and next 3 minutes was hitting him hard from all positions. Darrell looked hopelessly, and because he was a passive defending referee, had to stop the beating. For Khabib, it became 23rd win and 7th in UFC. On November 12, 2016, on UFC 205 in New York, Khabib faced another fighter, Michael Johnson, number 6 ranked fighter at that time. Michael Johnson had a good record with wins over Tony El Cucuy Ferguson, Edson Barboza, and Dustin Poirier. He had a great striking skills, and many people said that it would become a problem for Khabib. Khabib didn't get a title shot against Alvarez and took the fight on last note. He was angry and spilled his angriness over Michael Johnson. First 2 minutes of the first round were going on standing up, where Michael Johnson clipped Khabib with his long hands. But then Khabib made a takedown and dominated all first round. During the breaks, Khabib was talking to Dana White, saying he wants the title shot against McGregor. Second round went similarly to the first, taking down Michael Johnson and hitting him with a lot of punches. At the third round, Khabib took down Michael Johnson again and made him submit by Kimura. It was the 24th win of Khabib and 8th win in UFC.
After this, the fight between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson was booked again, March 4, UFC 209. However,
only a couple of hours ago, Khabib Nurmagomedov has been medically unfit. He has not been cleared to fight for his scheduled 25-minute battle with Tony Ferguson. The UFC officially announcing that that fight has been dropped from the card.
then Khabib had a back surgery, rehabilitation, and then he was ready to fight. In Las Vegas, on December 30th, UFC 219, against number 3 ranked lightweight contender, one of the best strikers in lightweight division, Edson Barboza. This time Khabib made his weight easily. Edson Barboza started the fight with some leg kicks, but Khabib's pressure was so big. The first takedown was unsuccessful. However, Khabib was kept going, only forward, and finally took him down. He started to maul Edson Barboza on the mat. It was an assault that Barboza seemed only capable of delaying and enduring. After suffering under the weight of Nurmagomedov's ground and pound in the first round, he was noticeably depleted as he started the second. Caught in a constant backpedal, Edson Barboza couldn't seem to find the space he needed to get his own offense started, and soon he was back on the mat, being overwhelmed by the power and volume of Khabib's onslaught. In the third round, Edson Barboza managed to rally just enough to land a few isolated strikes, but still Nurmagomedov kept coming, grinding him under the wheels of a machine that never stopped trudging forward, fighting at a pace that Barboza could never quite catch up to. The result was a one-sided beating that Edson Barboza did well to endure, with Nurmagomedov ultimately winning a dominant unanimous decision victory. After 1 week, Khabib faces Tony Ferguson at UFC 223. Let's guys wish him a luck.
Do not forget to hit the like button, please. Не забывайте ставить лайк на видео. And guys, subscribe for more videos. Не забудьте подписаться.